Well, welcome back. This is Giles Malone with Space Coast Daily. We've taken a break. We've moved inside today to bring you the Friday night locker room. I'm back with the Swamis of Brevard County High School Sports, Orville Susong and Steve Wilson. We've been so delighted to work with these gentlemen all season. They really are very knowledgeable, and they should be after 3 decades of covering high school sports. But Space Coast Daily is proud to be back. And as we move into the playoffs, Steve, why don't you kick it off with our first game, which is MCC at Lakeland Christian.
It's Class 3A contest. The Hustlers from MCC will be traveling to Polk County to take on Lakeland Christian. Should be a football game where footballs will be flying through the air, so to speak. Both quarterbacks have thrown for over 2,000 yards this year. So obviously it'll be, I think, a high-scoring contest. I look for the Hustlers to travel and come back with a win. It's going to be a tight one. On paper, Lakeland Christian would be favored. They're the 7th-ranked team in the state of Florida in 3A. MCC is not ranked. But I think the Hustlers are playing just strong enough on defense now, and they're not going to be stopped offensively. And I don't think Lakeland Christian will be stopped too much. But I like the Hustlers in what some might say would be an upset, but I think MCC is going to win the game.
Mr. Susong, now I just want to mention last week Steve picked 7 out of 8 winners, and you picked 6 out of 8. So what's it going to be this week?
Well, you know, Steve has been doing this a lot longer than I have, and he always says, let's not dwell into the past, but as long as his past is, he should be able to do it a lot better than me. But I expect to try at least and do better this week. We don't have as many games, which would probably give me a little bit better odds. But, you know, I agree with Steve. A lot of people are going to look at this MCC and Lakeland game and maybe give Lakeland Christian the nod. Brandon Ziarno, like Steve said, thrown over 2,500 yards this year, but could not lead the Hustlers past First Academy. Only loss of the season for them. So MCC was a district runner-up. Lakeland comes in 9-1, and they're averaging over 34 points a ball game. But I think in a tight ball game, it's all going to be defense for MCC. We saw against First Academy that their defense let them down, and First Academy was able to run or throw either one on them. If they can close up the defense, a tight ball game, special teams may come into play, but I'm going to agree with Steve on this one, say MCC will squeak by and come back for another playoff game.
Okay, both the gentlemen like MCC, and so does Space Coast Daily in that one. Here we have Cocoa Tigers hosting Avon Park. Steve, how do you see this?
Yeah, I think countywide there are going to be a number of close games this Friday night, but I don't think this will be one of them. Cocoa is so much stronger than Avon Park. Avon Park's only won 2 games this year. They're 2-8. The Tigers have only lost 1 game. We covered the Barbecue Bowl last week. Cocoa appears to be clicking on all cylinders, so to speak. Offensively, they're playing well. Defensively, they're playing outstanding. In fact, our player of the game Friday night was Chauncey Gardner for his play at the linebacker position and also blocking 2 punts earlier. So the special teams is falling into place. I think Cocoa will win this one very big, and then it gets tough.
Very good. Orville.
Well, we've done the Cocoa Tigers the last 2 weeks on the Friday night locker room game of the week. We saw them beat Orlando Jones and beat them soundly, and Rockledge in the same position, 47-0 last week. The Cocoa Tigers now have everybody healthy, and they're clicking on all cylinders. They took 2 weeks ago, they took Justin Weaver, at that time the number 2 runner in the county, out of the ball game just to protect him for the district, and put Chauncey Gardner, who's a defensive guy, to run the ball, and Gardner ran for 186 yards. Bruce Judson, All-American last year from the quarterback position as a freshman, throwing the ball at will last week. He stepped back in the pocket, waited 5 seconds, hit Jamel Dean on a 75-yard touchdown pass. There was nobody within 10 yards of him. When Cocoa wants to throw the ball, they don't throw it a lot, but I think they've got their offense set up now that when they're ready to throw the ball, it fools a lot of people, and that keeps the defense off guard. I like the Cocoa Tigers. There's no question about this one. It's going to be ugly early. We'll see another running clock in Cocoa this week.
Likewise, Space Coast Daily goes for the Cocoa Tigers. Now we have Titusville traveling to Bishop Moore. Steve.
It's going to be a tough one for the Terriers. I wish not that I have anything bad to say about Space Coast, but I wish Titusville had won the game last week to enter the playoffs in the right frame of mind. I think Bishop Moore, without question, is one of the top teams in the state of Florida. If you look at the state rankings that don't mean a whole lot, but they're interesting to follow, all the teams we're going to talk about today, Bishop Moore is the highest ranked team in the state of Florida at number 33. They're so well balanced. Marcus Williams has scored 23 touchdowns alone rushing for Bishop Moore. They throw the football. They're going to be at home. It's going to be a real challenge for the Terriers. Coming off of a big loss last week, I'll go on record as saying I hope Titusville wins the game, but I just don't think they're going to do it. I think Bishop Moore is a little bit stronger than Titusville and is going to come away with a W.
Very solid analysis there from Steve. What do you see, Orville?
Well, I'd like to create some controversy here, but these games are just so black and white. You know, you can't pull any controversy out of the ground. Space Coast Vipers, the Titusville Terriers lost last week, a very disappointing loss to them. Bishop Moore comes in at 10-0. They're undefeated in the district. It's going to be a long bus ride for the Titusville Terriers going over and a very disappointing ride coming home.
There it is. You heard it there on Space Coast Daily with the Swamis. Now we have Mount Dora at Merritt Island.
It's going to be an interesting matchup. Mount Dora, a runner-up in their division, coming in with an 8-2 record, identical to Merritt Island. Again, like Bishop Moore, a balanced team. Willie Brown over 1,500 yards rushing from Mount Dora. They've passed for over 1,500 yards this year. The only thing that we really have it to compare to is Mount Dora beat Astronaut 41-6 earlier in the year. Granted, it was week 1. It was a long time ago, but that's a pretty good margin of difference. I think it's going to be a very, very close football game, but the Mustangs are just playing solid football. They're playing great defense. They're moving the ball. They've proven they can shut down a running attack in what they did to Jaleel Davis of the Terriers a few weeks ago. So I think the defense is going to be just strong enough for Merritt Island to win the football game, but I think it's going to be a close one.
Very good. How do you see this one, Orville?
Well, Mount Dora 3-1 in the district, and the only loss was to Bishop Moore, which we spoke of earlier. That's undefeated overall and in the district. Both teams averaging over 29 points a ball game, and Merritt Island defense 5 points better than the defense of Mount Dora. Can that be enough? If you throw in a bad bounce or a special teams effort, I think the Merritt Island Mustangs can pull this one off.
Yeah, we're going with the Mustangs as well. Next up is Bayside at Naples.
You know, Bayside is doing what I would call limping into the playoffs. Look at their last 2 weeks. They've lost by a combined score of 111-7. They've scored 1 touchdown and given up over 100 points, and they're entering the playoffs. They're playing a Naples squad, 9-1, whose only loss has been to state-ranked Manatee. It's going to be a real challenge. It's a long drive to Naples. Couple that with the fact you're playing a really good football team, and couple that with the fact that you're not playing your best football of the year right now. As much as I hate to say it, I think Naples is going to win the game, and it might not be too close.
It's a long bus ride, about 5 hours over there, Orville.
Another black and white one there. You know, Bayside travels to Naples, which we spoke of as a long ride. Naples 9-1, the Golden Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. This will be a long trip for the Bears, especially coming back to Brevard County. The Bears on a 2-game losing streak, and that's not the way you want to enter the playoffs at all, by losing the last 2 games, one of them especially at Holmes. Naples 4-0 in District 13 play. Bayside is, like Steve said, has given up 111 points in 2 ball games. Naples has given up 112 points in 10 ball games. So it's kind of black and white there. You have to go with Naples on this one.
Well, there it is. The gauntlet is thrown down for Bayside. Next up, we have Gulf Coast at Heritage.
Yeah, I like the Panthers Friday night. They're playing Gulf Coast, who's the runner-up to Naples. Naples appears to be head and shoulders above their district competition, defeating Gulf Coast 41-3 earlier. So there's a big discrepancy, big difference between the region, the district champ and the runner-up. I like Heritage at home. I think they're going to win the football game. They're going to run the ball enough to put up enough points to come out on top, maybe by 2 touchdowns.
Very good. Heritage has got the thumbs up from Steve.
I think you give them the thumbs up from me, too. You know, Heritage, though, they've been hot and cold the last couple of weeks. They beat Bayside 2 weeks ago by 49 points and then lost last week to American Heritage, which a lot of people in the state of Florida can say that over the years. American Heritage always a pretty good football team, but giving up 41 points to them. The question to me is which Heritage Panther team will show up this Friday night to play. If it's the one that played against Bayside, they're going to get beat. If it's the other one that played last week, they'll have a better shot at it. But I'm going to stay Brevard County this time. I agree with Steve. I think Heritage Panthers get a win.
Yep. Third thumbs up from Space Coast Daily on Heritage. And then we have Melbourne at another long drive all the way down to Fort Myers.
Yeah, that is a long drive. I'd love to say Melbourne's going to head to the West Coast and come back with a win. And I think they have a chance. Fort Myers runs the ball extremely well. They have a running back that has run for over 100 yards for 15 consecutive games. Yeah. When you can do that, you control the clock, and you play good defense like Fort Myers does, as well as the Bulldogs do. I think it's going to be a close game. I think when all's said and done, Fort Myers is going to be a little bit too strong for Melbourne, but that one might be fairly close, closer than a lot of people think, but I'm going to have to go with Fort Myers on this one.
Okay, Orville.
Fort Myers a winner again on this one. They are the winner of the Class 7A District 11. The defense scoring over 44 points a ball game, and they're only allowing 10 points a ball game. That says enough right there for their defense. Melbourne struggled all year long about putting points on the board, and from time to time, big defensive collapses that cost them a couple ball games down the stretch, one of them being the Vieira Hawks, which cost them the district championship and ended up as the runner-up. So Fort Myers will have to stop B.J. Daniels, but I think their defense will be able to do that. And want to be a Brevard County homer here, and I love Todd Wilson and his program, but I just don't think the Bulldogs have enough.
Well, there you go, Coach Wilson, the gauntlet thrown down for you as well. We wish you the best of luck, though, that's for sure. And we're going to go with Melbourne on this one. We're going to go against the odds.
There you go.
Now then, next up we have Charlotte at Vieira.
You know, that's going to be a tough one. The undefeated Hawks play one of the top teams from the Southwest in Charlotte. They've lost 3 football games this year, but if you look at their opponents, they have a combined record of 27-2. They're all state ranked. The level of competition Charlotte has played all year consistently has been stronger than Vieira. I'm going with an upset this week. I desperately would like to see Vieira win the football game, but I think Charlotte's going to sneak in here and win the game by a field goal.
Wow, that's a bit of controversy there maybe, Orville. What do you say?
Finally, we're going to have week number 2. Well, they haven't played anybody yet. They played Melbourne, and they beat Melbourne. They came in 7-0 at that point. They're undefeated now to end the season. First time they've made the playoffs in school history. First time they've went undefeated in school history, and they'll have their first playoff game. It will be at home. It will be huge. The Vieira side will be packed. There'll be standing room only, and it's going to be something that people from Titusville to Merritt Island to Rockledge will go watch because their team is no longer in it. Coco's not going to draw a big crowd because nobody thinks Coco's going to lose. Vieira is going to be the hot ticket of the week, and I think the Vieira Hawks they'll get their first playoff win, and they'll add one more thing to the first time in school history.
Well, there it is, folks. The week has been laid out for you by the Swamis. You've heard it here on Space Coast Daily, and with their batting average, you'd be hard-pressed to bet against these gentlemen. We want to wish you the very best of luck. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you all season with Matt O'Hearn, now with Giles Malone with Space Coast Daily. And we'll be right back with our rankings for your top 5. Giles Malone back now with Space Coast Daily here on Sykes Creek. We moved inside again like I told you earlier. We have the burgers and the hot dogs ready for our post-barbecue bowl celebration. But now we're going to go with the top 5, and we've got Orville Susong here who's going to lay it out first for us.
Well, first off, we thought that with the expense account that Giles Malone has, it should be T-bones and baked potatoes, but we'll take the hot dogs and hamburgers. Like that's more custom for Steve and I. But the top 5 wins last week. Now we can put a little spin on it and see how everybody did. But last week I had Titusville in the number 5 spot. I moved them out. Still, they will make the playoffs, but the reason I moved them out is because they lost last week, and I don't think they're going to win this week in the playoffs, so I dropped them out at number 5. So my first number 5 this week is the Heritage Panthers. They were at number 4 last week. I'm going to drop them to number 5 because, again, I lost there, but I think they will win this week, so I'm going to leave them at number 5. Number 4, I put MCC back into my top 5. Haven't been in there in a couple weeks, but they end up, 10-1. number two in the district, only behind American Heritage, like I said earlier, who's killing everybody. So I have them at number 5. Number 4, MCC at number 4. Number 3, still the Merritt Island Mustangs. I think they are primed to go deep in the playoffs. So I like the Merritt Island Mustangs. They won last week 21-10. I think they will win this coming week also. So we'll give them the number 3 spot. The number 2 spot, my number 2 team from day one is the Viera Hawks. They come in undefeated, first time everything as far as football season goes. Disagreeing with Steve, I think they will win this week, and they will get their first playoff win and go into round 2 of the playoffs. And and the last one, number 1, obviously from day one, I've had the Cocoa Tigers, and the reason being, big games the last 2 weeks for the Cocoa Tigers. They scored 87 points against 2 very good teams, Orlando Jones, district runner-up, and then the Rockledge Raiders, scored 87 points and pitched 2 shutouts. The defense is clicking. No matter who they put back there to run the ball, they've seemed to be able to do it well. But the Cocoa offensive and defensive lines both are working hard now, and I think they've got them exactly where they need to be to make a deep run into the playoffs. I expect to be going to Clewiston next week.
All right. There it is from Mr. Susong. Mr. Wilson, how do you see it?
All right, I have a top 5 plus 3, which I've had all year long. There's so many good teams in Brevard County, I just can't narrow it down to 5. Honorable mention, the Palm Bay Pirates. Just based alone on what they did last week, they destroyed the playoff-bound Bayside Bears. I don't know that anybody would want to play Palm Bay this Friday, but you look over the course of the year, the Pirates should not be in the top 5, but we have to mention them because of how they ended the season. Ticeville Terriers, as an honorable mention, dropped out. Their loss to Space Coast, in my mind, was huge. I know it's a rival game between Space Coast and Titusville, but you don't want to go into the playoffs with a loss like that. For that reason, they've slipped out of my top 5. I have the Hustlers, MCC Hustlers, knocking on the door of the top 5 once again. I'm not convinced they can beat the teams that I have in my top 5, but they're a quality football program. Now the true top 5, Orville, listen closely.
Now.
Yeah. Number 5, the Melbourne Bulldogs. Had a bye last week. They're ready for the playoffs. It's going to be a tough trip Friday night to Fort Myers, but Coach Wilson's Bulldogs have played well all year long. They continue to run the football with Daniels, play great defense. Special teams is there. They're the 5th-ranked team in the county as far as I see it. The Heritage Panthers at number 4. Yes, they lost last Friday to American Heritage Delray Beach, but they're co-number 1s in Class 3A, along with Clearwater Central Catholic. American Heritage has beaten a lot of teams. What I said last week, the Panthers needed to show that they can compete, not beat American Heritage, and they did compete. They fell behind early, came back, and almost tied the game at the end. So I had the Panthers at number 4, the Mustangs from Merritt Island at number 3. Just continued to get better. I think their loss at Oviedo earlier really got them going in the right direction. It showed me and showed a lot of people that they could play with some of the top teams in Central Florida, which Oviedo is. And the Mustangs, Orville says, they're primed to really take off into the playoffs, and I think they have a chance as well. Number 2, the Viera Hawks. Now, don't misunderstand. I picked against the Hawks this Friday. I think Charlotte's going to come in here and sneak a win, but I desperately would love to see the Hawks win the football game. I have them as the 2nd-ranked team in the Brevard County, which I think is where they should be. Cocoa Tigers, without a doubt, are the top team in Brevard County and well beyond Brevard County. They do it all. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can play defense, special teams. Right now, they're playing their best football of the year, which is exactly what the coach would like to see. You don't want to, week 1, 2, you don't want that to be your best. You want week 9, 10, 11 to be your best, and that's what the Tigers are doing. So that's the true top 5, Cocoa, Viera, Heritage, at 4, Merritt Island, Melbourne.
Well, there it is, folks. You heard it from the 2 experts. But you know what? This is playoff time. And as you know, anything can happen in the playoffs. So we want to wish all the teams the very best of luck as they go into these important games. This is an incredible hotbed of football here on the Space Coast. We continue to see that year after year. We want to thank Orville and Steve for helping us present this programming to you this year. Best of luck, and we'll see you next week for a wrap-up.